and welcome to session number 1 of the series Inside the SAB, a closer look at the science behind the scientists at Neolife. Today, I'm speaking with Dr. Ariana Karugi, a longtime scientific advisory board member, in fact, one of the longest now. And
good morning, John.
Good morning, Ariana. It's good to see you again. I know it's been a strange year, hasn't it?
Yes, for sure.
Today's topic we're going to share with Dr. Karugi, or rather Dr. Karugi is going to share with us, is the subject of polyphenols. You know, polyphenols are hot topics today, as you know, Ariana. So tell us a little bit about them, okay?
Well, polyphenols are the most abundant and diverse group of health protective compounds in fruits and vegetables. One of the things that we have been doing for decades at Neolife is looking at the benefits of these compounds in fruits and vegetables and plant foods in general. And polyphenols are, together with carotenoids, really are among those compounds that explain the benefit of these fruits and vegetables on our health. Polyphenols are responsible for the color, the taste, and the aroma of foods and beverages, and plant foods and beverages, and they are found in very high concentration because of that, and those compounds that are very colorful, like the berries, or a little bit of a pungent flavor, like cheese and cocoa, strong flavors, and wine, for example. All the color in wine is due to anthocyanins, and then they are, unlike the carotenoids, they are mostly water soluble compounds.
Yeah, I remember when the N. Haynes data first came out years ago, we were so excited with what it was disclosing, that N. Haynes being the National Health and Nutrition Evaluation Survey, I think, from the USDA, and how they pointed at essentially that people who had the most colorful fruits and vegetables in their diet had, you know, the greatest probability of health and the lowest risk of many diseases. And as we started into that work, we were looking at the lipid-soluble carotenoids and then the water-soluble flavonoids, which are part of the polyphenol family. It was really exciting. And, you know, we've learned a lot over that period of time.
Yes, certainly. Now we know that well, at that time, we were focused on the flavonoids, and flavonoids, now we know, this is like, what, 30 years ago?
Yeah,
decades
30 years ago, exactly 30 years ago.
Yeah, the flavonoids are the most abundant family of the polyphenols themselves, and they also are divided in different classes. So I remember all the way back then that we were trying to have a profile of all these different flavonoids, and when we formulated flavonoid complex to mimic what we would be receiving an optimal serving of flavonoid-rich fruits and vegetables. Mm-hmm. But now, as the years have progressed, we know that there are many other polyphenols that are very important. The steel beans, like resveratrol, for example, the anthocyanins in particular, a group of the flavonoids, but those are very important in protection against other chronic diseases. And then phenolic acids, like the hydroxycinnamic acids that you can find in newer products. So little by little, we've been expanding the delivery of these very important health protective compounds. And one thing I forgot to say, John, about why they're so important, it's that if they're absent in our diet, it's not as if they are going to prevent a deficiency disease like vitamins or minerals. What they have been shown consistently through epidemiological studies, clinical studies, mechanistic studies, is that they are essential, not essential, but are very, very important in long-term health, in protecting us against diseases that come with aging, chronic diseases like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, cancer, neurodegenerative diseases.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing things. You know, what surprised me is initially we started looking at them only as antioxidants, right? We thought, well, wow, you know, because at that time, oxidation and the things that it does to our bodies that promote aging or promote the occurrence of diseases were like the focus of science. But as we've sort of unraveled this story over all of the decades, we have found that there's much more to these things than just being an antioxidant. Not that that isn't important, but they have a much broader effect within our bodies and within, you know, our gastrointestinal tract and things like that than we thought before. The emerging science seems to be pointing at that. You know, you agree with that? That's where it's going?
Yes, or emphasis. Sorry to talk over you, John.
No, that's
but
okay.
Yes, at the beginning, so all along we've been thinking what is missing in our diet, and the diet of populations that impact of long-term health. And so at the beginning, as you say, was oxidation and was kind of the belief that the root cause of all these diseases that come with aging and aging itself. And so we were looking at very potent antioxidants, which with these polyphenols are. But then their benefits we found out cannot be explained solely to their antioxidant function. So we started looking at inflammation and chronic inflammation, which means low-grade inflammation throughout the body consistently. And then we found out, or scientists found out, that yes, it was not only oxidative stress, but it was coupled with systemic oxidation, inflammation that might be at the root cause of aging and disease. And now we have moved to a new mechanism as polyphenols are also very potent, what we call signaling molecules. What is signaling molecules is that they signal pathways inside the cell, and also in how the cells interact with each other. They affect or modulate enzymes that regulate many important pathways in our body, like energy pathway, lipid pathway, glucose metabolism. And in this way, acting as this, what we call signaling molecules, they affect, they benefit our health. And obviously also our immune system too is they modulate inflammation and immune function also. So we have all this group of actions. But we really at this point, after how many 30 years, we don't exactly know for sure how they work, but we are just building this background.
Yeah, I know we've learned a lot over those 30 years, but you know, there's still an awful lot to learn about these, especially in the emerging connections that you're talking about, you know, things like that. I remember back in the day, after we had been working in this a while, you and I were at a meeting someplace, and we ended up having breakfast with a bunch of folks, and out of that came the creation of FINRIG, the Plant Polyphenol Human Research Interest Group, and how everybody was at that time already excited about where all of these things were going to go. And it's apparent that they have continued to go in those directions.
Yes, this was.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. No,
okay. This was when you talk about the FINRIG, there was a 20 odd number years ago. And really, we were trying to mimic the carotenoid research interest group, and we were saying where there's these compounds are also just as important. They are parallel to the carotenoids. Why don't we start this group, Polyphenol and Health Research Interest Group, with all those scientists doing work on the health protective effects of polyphenols? And at that time, really it was the beginning of the the polyphenol research area, and that has continued year and year and year, expanding their role. At that time, I think the focus at that time was the antioxidant function and their effect, cardiovascular benefit that I was looking, their ability to improve blood flow and maybe prevent stroke and cardiovascular events like stroke or myocardial infarction. That was the main interest, and looking at how they prevent oxidation of LDL molecules in the blood.
Right.
But now it has expanded. The research has expanded so much, and I have to credit this polyphenol research interest group and or participation in it. What has kept us really at the forefront of everything that is happening in this area, and I think that you would agree.
Yeah, well, I agree completely. You know, I have been a proponent of FENREG for a long time. I think for two reasons. One, it certainly acted as a conduit by which we could learn more and more and more. You know, I've always been interested in not what scientists know, because they often publish that, but also what they think, where they think the research is going. So groups like that are really, really important for that activity. You know, one of the things that I just want to focus on here for a moment is the idea that polyphenols have this anti-inflammatory capacity to them, that they seem to be able to modulate maybe natural inflammation that goes on. But there's a lot associated with that idea that goes beyond just what that means. You know, the whole idea of aging. You know, the more inflamed you are metabolically, the faster you're going to age. So, and when I look at some of the work that's coming out now at the research level, that's really one of the things they're pointing at very strongly, is this whole idea of healthy aging, right? And the role that polyphenols play in the healthy aging process. One of the things that has struck me about that work is when I was at one of the meetings you and I were at a few years ago in, I think, San Diego, one of those big FASEB events down there with 1 million people or something like that. Seemed like 1 million people. And at one of the FENREG sessions was Dr. Passanetti making a presentation about this idea that polyphenols, you know, they enter through our diet, they go down into our gut, they're involved in everything that's going on there, and somehow something out of that event gets into the bloodstream, works its way into our brain, and then protects us. You know, it's a cognitive protector sort of event that takes place. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, that Dr. Passanetti, he's has come and talked at the FENREG many couple of times, and he's fantastic. He's from Mount Sinai, and he has his focus is polyphenols and cognitive function, particularly prevention of Alzheimer's disease and related dementias, and decrease in cognitive function, and a little bit on even Parkinson's disease, and it also, his research initially what he was looking at neuroinflammation, what we would call inflammation in the brain, and apparently, for example, in Alzheimer's disease, two things that you see is the formation of beta amyloid plaques and tangles inside and outside the neurons that cause the disease, and apparently that generates inflammation and promotes the aggregation of these proteins in the brain that are so damaging. And it appears that polyphenols may prevent this the tangles from forming, and so they are very strong neuroprotectants. And now we know a lot more about how they affect brain function, both and this has been shown all the way from population studies like the PREDIMET, for example, looked at cognitive decline among a group of participants that consumed a diet high in polyphenols, like the Mediterranean diet, and those who did not. But also animal studies and even clinical studies in among the elderly or mid-age individuals, and showed that yes, indeed, a high polyphenol diet is associated with a lower decline in verbal and language memory, lower decline in overall cognitive function, and as the years went by. And what is very interesting, I think now, and John, is that and this is very recent. I don't know whether it's, maybe I'm confusing or bringing a new topic, but we've known that the gut microbiota does affect in some way cognitive function. This is just really new area of research. And what Dr. Pasinetti's group is showing now is that the gut affects it, polyphenols in it's a two-way effect. First, polyphenols promote a more beneficial spectrum of bacteria in the gut, and on the other hand, these beneficial bacteria, these bacteria metabolize the polyphenols into very active compounds, metabolites of the polyphenols that are able to get absorbed very efficiently, cross the blood-brain barrier, and there they have a series of effects. They apparently, this is all very new research. They promote neurogenesis. They protect the neurons in the brain, which are the brain cells. They increase blood flow in the brain. They lower, as we mentioned, neuroinflammation. And the results can explain some of the protective effect we see among individuals that consume these diets on cognitive function.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that you cannot discount the microbiome in any sort of nutritional investigations these days. They seem to be involved in everything. You know, that idea of gut-brain signaling, we've been talking about that. For a long time now. Since well before I think it became sort of popular in the scientific, in the common scientific press. And the more we look at it, the more we find that there are multiple communication pathways. At first we thought maybe they were just hormones like ghrelin or insulin or something like that. And now we're finding that there's all of these sort of secondary metabolites of things that we consume, like polyphenol rich foods, that all have an influence that it directly results on actions that take place in the microbiome in our gut. Safe to say that if we didn't have them there, this would probably not happen. We probably wouldn't be alive, actually. It's really amazing. I think that's a new area. I know the plan is in one of the upcoming series to have a discussion about the microbiome and what we know about it. So a big, deep topic. One of the things that I've always loved about the way we pursue science in the Scientific Advisory Board is we always take a holistic look at things. We don't look at just nutrient density. We don't want to give people a big bunch of one thing. We've always looked at the balance between density and diversity. And I think when it comes to polyphenols, flavonoids and polyphenols, the diversity of having a diversity of those in the diet is really important, because you don't know if one or two or three or four, or what specific ones you might need most. And seems to be a synergy between many of them. So,
that is really that is stuff. Important. I second what you're saying there. What we know is that they work synergistically, and the other idea that we also is that different type of these polyphenols, be it stilbenes, be it flavonoids like the catechins, that very, very important, which are flavonoids, or the anthocyanins, and phenolic acids, they all appear to work a bit stronger in one pathway than in another. So what we are seeing is that what we want is to have the whole family of these compounds in present in our diet. And to go back into what you were saying about, John, about the gut microbiota, this dual relation is that we see that certain polyphenols or polyphenol-rich foods promote this beneficial bacteria, and actually more important than promoting the beneficial bacteria, they inhibit the growth of some damaging detrimental bacteria. That all the way when we were starting with our flavonoid complex, and I'm going back to some of the polyphenols like the anthocyanins, they're not really well absorbed as a compound themselves, and we were thinking, how can they affect all these systems in the body if they actually do not get in? And so that was a big conundrum that we had. Whereas now what we understand very clearly is how the gut microbiota metabolizes them into many more active little components that are very readily available, and we can measure in the blood and even in the brain.
Very it's amazingly complex stuff. And which is why I think our approach of assuring diversity of these things in products like flavonoid complex and tray and even glucose balance, where we set out to make sure that we're not delivering just one thing. We're not taking a drug approach, we're taking a food approach of feeding a broad spectrum of these things to the gut. I think that pays off in terms of the benefit it applies, but also the application of the science. I know at the SAB, we do not like to get out on a limb. If there's no science to support where we're going, we tend to not want to go there. And that's, I think, a big benefit for us. So just sort of wrapping up here, where do you think this is going to go in the future? I know we're working on more and more products and more ability to deliver these things, but this just seems to be an unending sort of opportunity for scientific investigation and delivery of benefit to people.
Yes, I think that what is the future going to bring us? I think a greater realization of the importance of a diet rich in plant foods that contain these compounds. And a mechanism to include them in their diet as a supplement, as a maintaining our intake of fruits and vegetables, and also including in our diet polyphenol-rich products like teas and spices and all the benefits that these provide as a family of compounds. Rather than, I don't think it's ever going to take us to individual, we find one that is responsible for everything.
No, I think that the individuality of the person and the individuality of their microbiome is going to continue to promote the idea that diversity, delivering the diversity of these things is the sort of thing. So anyway, listen, this has been a lot of fun for the first series. I always enjoy talking to you. We've had many conversations like this over the years. We're probably due to go to lunch again here at some point when that's allowed. But I want to just say thank you, Ariana.
Thank you, John, so much. And I think one thing that one last message for everybody is the realization that the Western diet really is not providing as we move forward not only the amount but the variety of these compounds as we become more narrowly focused in our diet and the type of food that we are eating, going more to convenience rather than with our hectic lives. And so I think that our body needs to function at optimal levels, and one thing that we have to keep in mind all the time.
Yeah.
And it's always on talking to you and having our lunches where we explore 101 things
Yes, right.
to do in the future.
Yeah, we got lots to do. Anyway, thanks a lot for sharing this time with us today. You know, it's a lot of fun. I look forward, maybe down the road here, we'll do some more on some different topics. But you take care and be well, okay? And to everybody that listened in today, thank you.
You too.
You know, we appreciate
Thank you.
Sharing a little of your time with us. Okay, so take care, Ariana, and we'll see you down the road.
Bye-bye, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye.